through the knowledge of the existing staff teams, if there was anyone that might have worked in a previous period, so that the information was shared across everyone. So potentially, yes.
Okay, that's helpful to know. Were any of the returns that you would have received, people contacting you, was that shared with Scottish Government special advisors or indeed Scottish Government civil servants?
No.
No. Okay. Finally, can I put it to you, there has been a suggestion that your text messages were evidence of a plot to ensure the downfall of Alex Salmond, and that you had a key role in that. Is that true?
Well, the timeline would say no, because he had been charged by the time I sent those text messages. So all complainers had come forward by that point. And the police had charged him and he had appeared in court. So it's not true, no.
Okay.
Of course it's not true.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a short supplementary on this from Alex Cole-Hamilton, and then we'll move to Andy Wightman for the last of the questioning.
Thank you, Convener. I'm quite happy to come in after Andy. It's not directly related to Jackie Bailey. It's from
All
my
right
earlier
then,
line of
well,
questioning.
I'll keep you till the end then, please. Andy Wightman.
Thanks, Convener. Happy birthday seems to be the protocol. First of all, can I just clarify, following Murdo Fraser and Jackie Bailey's questions, that the 31st of October email was sent, I think you initially said it was sent to MPs, MSPs and SNP staff, but can you confirm that it was also sent to SNP members?
I don't, that 31st of
Yes.
October one, no, it wasn't. It was just sent, it was, the language of it, which is in your papers,
Yep.
It was aimed at parliamentarians, whether at, well, indeed, at the time, the European Parliament, Westminster and Holyrood, and sought to ask parliamentarians to reflect on past behaviours and also try to reach out to staff members on, the methods by which you could report any concerns that they had at the time.
Okay, so MPs, MSPs,
MEPs,
MEPs,
councillor,
SNP staff,
and staff.
councillors.
Yeah.
Okay, but not SNP members, the 31st of October one, and not office holders in the SNP, then?
It would have gone to, it would have gone to the National Executive Committee and so on.
Okay. Right.
But that's a very small number of
Sure.
people.
So you said earlier that the SNP has procedures, and you've helpfully provided them to the committee, and that the changes that were, the only change that was made in October 2017 was that you provided an independent route via an external party. The only change, yeah. Can I ask you, if a person raised a complaint about, let's say, for example, a member of staff in headquarters, and it related to sexual harassment, what article of the Code of Conduct would they raise it under?
So also in your bundle of papers is, so there's a staff handbook as well. So the grievance procedure for SNP headquarters staff is within your bundle as well. So that would be the method by which someone would complain about another member of staff.
Staff, so that would be done in the staff procedure. Yes. What about an allegation or a complaint of sexual harassment against an SNP office holder? For example, I don't know, the Treasurer, the National Secretary, or whoever. What I'm trying to get at is, I'm just trying to work out, when you talk about...
No, it's fine. That would be a member conduct complaint.
So that they could have contacted for members. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yes.
Sorry. What of the 15 conduct standards would a complaint of sexual harassment be raised under?
Well, that's where you would get the National Secretary to make that decision. But
no, the reason
there
I'm asking,
are a number of different codes that, standards that could be breached by that conduct. So,
I don't see many.
well, I think there's certainly two anyway. But
there's number 8, which says that no member shall abuse, harass, or bully, or maliciously defame any other member, whether via the media or otherwise. It's just that
That
in the
would be one, yeah.
That'd be one. It's just in the complaints, under the disciplinary rules, under item 3, complaints to the disciplinary committee, the disciplinary committee shall consider complaints presented to it by the National Secretary. And it goes on to say 3.2, a complaint presented by the National Secretary is a proposal by him, her, that the disciplinary committee should take disciplinary measures against a member of the party on one of the following grounds. A, that the member has contravened the constitutional rules, so presumably a sexual harassment case wouldn't be under that. Or B, that the member has breached one of the numbered standards in the party's code of conduct. The reason I'm asking is it doesn't appear to me that the SNP has a policy on sexual harassment explicitly, and I'm just a bit surprised at that, in the sense that the only reference to the word harass appears in Conduct Standard 8.
Well, it would fit, you know, there are different processes and procedures throughout all the different aspects of, so whether that's Parliament or the party itself, but that would be a valid route for someone to pursue a, you know, they're specific for employees, there are specific routes for them to take. If it's a member conduct, then that would be the appropriate way to do that, because you're not dealing with an employee. But, you know, specific policies for employees are in place. So someone who works for an MSP has a specific, you know, process and procedure for investigating sexual misconduct allegations. Similarly across the other parliaments and within councils. But where that's not the case and you're dealing with volunteers of members of political parties, then the standard there would be as close as you would get to that procedure.
Okay, now I understand that parliamentarians and councillors all have different routes, but I'm just wondering, for example, at a party conference where somebody alleges that they were sexually harassed by another person, could indeed be an elected official, but they'd be there in their capacity as a party member because they're attending their party's national conference. You would rely on the code of conduct for members for that. Okay.
Yes,
I'm just expressing a
well,
little
I
bit.
wouldn't, the National Secretary would.
No, indeed. I'm just expressing a little bit of surprise that following the Me Too movement and everything that's happened, that there's no more explicit reference to sexual harassment. But I'll leave it. I'll leave that there. Can I move on to the 2nd of April meeting that's already been discussed? Because I just want to clarify a few things. You said you weren't at home; you were elsewhere.
At work.
You were at work. Good. You say in your 4th of August evidence, you say requests of me in a personal capacity. That's requests from the committee. A, I became aware that complaints had been made under the Scottish Government procedure when the matter became public in August 2018. So that's the first time you were aware. You then say, I knew about the meetings between Nicola and Alex Salmond at her home on 2nd April and 14th July. So when you say I knew about them, when did you first know about the 2nd of April meeting?
I think at some point on the previous day, I was aware that Alec was coming to the house.
Okay, that's what
So
that means.
you know, and on the second meeting,
I'm not so concerned
not,
about the second
well,
one.
okay, but I mean, I can't actually remember the second.
No,
one.
okay.
But as I say, it wasn't an unusual occurrence, so it wasn't, you know, it wasn't something that would have.
Right, so you knew in advance that that meeting was going to happen?
Yes,
A day before or so, yeah.
I think so. Anyway.
Yep. And then you go on to say, and I had the sense that something serious was being discussed. How did you obtain that sense?
Well, I came home from work, and there were people still in the house at that point. So
sorry. You said you weren't at your home on the 2nd of April.
that's correct. But
But you're saying you did actually come home.
I arrived home not long before the meeting ended.
Okay, right.
But
Okay, that's fine. And so you were aware that those people were going to be there. Well, they may have left,
Well,
but you're aware that a meeting had been arranged.
yes,
Yeah. And you say you had the sense that something serious had been discussed. So that sense was picked up by your arrival home and just the atmosphere, was it?
well, so to give you the situation, I arrived home and popped my head into our living room, and there were 3 individuals in the living room. Alec and Nicola were in another room, which I couldn't see them. So the fact that there were other people there was what gave me that sense.
Okay. And then you said Nicola told me she couldn't discuss the details, so that was after.
That was after. So I went upstairs, I got changed, well, I had a shower, I got changed, and by the time I'd done that, the meeting had ended, they'd left.
Okay, and then you're
So
going to
there's
say...
no interaction, really, apart from saying hello to people when I arrived and going upstairs.
Okay, thanks. And then you go on to say the nature of Nicola's job means that when she tells me she can't discuss something, I don't press it. The reference to Nicola's job presumably means that her job as First Minister.
Yes.
Okay. So that was just a general, you didn't expect to have, you didn't anticipate being told chapter and verse or indeed any detail, because that wasn't an unusual thing for you to be denied knowledge of things that were happening. But what was unusual was the apparent serious nature of the meeting, though. You say you sensed that something serious was being discussed.
Well, that's because of the fact there were other people there than just what I was expecting, which was that Alec and Nicola would be having a meeting.
Okay, thanks. Can I turn finally, this is my final query. So this is to your written evidence of 2nd October 2020. So towards the end of your evidence, you talk about these text messages, which for the record I have not seen. I've just been present in this committee for the last week. You say that the messages were sent the day after Mr. Salmond had been charged with a number of serious offences. And you're going to say, in the aftermath of this, the SNP was contacted by individuals who had specific personal questions in relation to that criminal case. Can you say anything more? I don't want you to identify any individuals, but can you say anything more about the nature of these personal questions and why they related to the criminal case?
Well, I think I set that out, that individuals who had previously spoken to the police were asking, had questions which, they wished answers to, that could only be answered by the police or by the Crown Office. And that's, that's the context of those text messages, of the approaches by these individuals. What the specific questions were, I don't know, but, the SNP couldn't answer the questions. They could only be answered by the prosecution or by by the police or by the Crown Office, I think.
So just to be clear, when you say in the aftermath of this, you're talking about the aftermath of the charging with serious offences? Yeah. So excuse me, these individuals who had specific personal questions, these were people who had spoken to the police, yes, either as witnesses or complainers, or did you not know?
Gone far enough in this questioning in terms of jigsaw identification.
Okay, thanks very much, Convener. That's everything.
Alec, have you got a supplement? Alec Cole-Hamilton has a short supplementary. Jackie Bailey, short supplementary. We've been a long time in this session. Alec Cole-Hamilton.
Thank you very much for bringing me back in, Convener. Just two very, very quick follow-ups. Firstly, on the evening that you and the First Minister learned of the Edinburgh Airport concerns from Sky News, did the First Minister attempt to contact Alec Salmond in any way that evening or in subsequent days?
Is that not part of the evidence she's submitted?
I'm just, if you can refresh our memory.
Sorry?
If you can just refresh our memory.
And your question is, sorry?
Whether she contacted Alec Salmond following that Sky News inquiry.
I think they arranged to speak next morning on the phone. That's the arrangement that was made.
That's fine. The final supplemental I have is on the meeting of the 2nd of April and your exchange with Andy Wightman there. Mr. Murrell, couples share things. It's why spousal privilege exists in many countries to this day, that not in Scotland, but in other parts of the UK and other parts of the world, spouses will not be required to testify against each other because it's understood that marital home is sacrosanct. People share stuff, they vent the rest of it. So, again, you've been very judicious with your phrasing in your written evidence, and you said that after the conclusion of that meeting on the 2nd of April, that Nicola Sturgeon couldn't discuss the details with you, and you knew, given the nature of her job, not to press it.